You have felt him. Kronos, Father Time. If it ever feels like nothing is working out, if you are grinding for hours, weeks, months, with nothing to show, that is the cold hand of Saturn. It is not bad luck. It is not some curse. It is a force beyond comprehension, testing your mettle, seeing what your soul is made of, forcing you to shed what does not serve you. Saturn has been feared for millennia. The ancients called it the Great Malefic, the planet of hardship, cold, and delay. Its scythe was not the symbol of death, but of harvest, cutting away what is weak, pruning what is false. Saturn is the keeper of time, the weight that presses down on us all, the long shadow that reminds you that every promise has a cost and every shortcut leaves a debt. Think of procrastination. The night you waste, the project left unfinished. Saturn will collect the bill with interest. Think of patience. The years spent on a craft, the daily grind no one applauds. Saturn rewards that with mastery. Think of boundaries. Every time you say no, Saturn is there, teaching that freedom is built on limits. But Saturn is not an enemy. It is the most severe of teachers, and the most loyal. The force that demands effort, discipline, and responsibility. But in return, it gives you dignity, resilience, and sovereignty. Whether or not you believe in astrology, Saturn exists as an archetype, the psychological truth of limits, boundaries, and mortality. Ignore it, and life drifts into chaos. Embrace it, and you become unshakable. Most people only know Saturn through fear. The ancients called it malefic, as if it were evil, cold, distant, slow, the bringer of loneliness, loss, and despair. But this is the first mistake, to confuse difficulty with cruelty. Saturn is not punishing you. It is reflecting you. It is the weight of consequence, the echo of your own choices. When you cut corners, Saturn shows you the cracks. When you refuse discipline, Saturn reveals the chaos. When you hide from responsibility, Saturn drags it into the light. The second mistake is to believe Saturn leaves you powerless. People say, when Saturn is strong, nothing works. But that is half a truth. What fails under Saturn's gaze are the things not built to last. The shallow friendships, the cheap routines, the flimsy identities. The third mistake, imagining you can avoid Saturn. You can numb yourself, scroll your hours away, drown in small pleasures, but Saturn still waits. Because Saturn is time, and time is undefeated. What looks like punishment is really contact with reality, not cosmic sadism, but the oldest psychological law. You reap what you sow. Long before psychology had names for discipline and delay, Saturn already had a story. To the Greeks, he was Kronos, the god who devoured his children, terrified of being overthrown. To the Romans, he was Saturn, the god of agriculture and time, whose sickle cut both wheat and destiny. Every winter they held Saturnalia, a festival of reversal and chaos, because they knew even authority must bow to time. For 1 week, the masters served the slaves, the rules inverted. Order collapsed into carnival. It was a reminder. The very structures Saturn builds will one day be torn down because nothing escapes the clock. In astrology, Saturn was marked malefic, not because he was evil, but because he was cold, dry, and slow. The one planet that never gave anything for free, the one force that always demanded effort before reward. But in the language of psychology, we can translate this. Saturn is boundaries, limits, responsibility, and consequence. The impulse control of the prefrontal cortex. The friction that forges patience and grit. The existential fact that life is finite and therefore meaningful. Every culture knew this figure by another name. The harsh god, the stern father. The clockmaker. Always the same archetype, time as teacher. Discipline as liberation. Saturn is not just a planet or a myth. It is a pattern that lives inside the human mind. Every time you resist an impulse, every time you delay gratification, every time you endure boredom for the sake of something greater, that is Saturn moving through your nervous system. In cognitive psychology, Saturn is the rule of boundaries and contracts. CBT uses behavior agreements. If you do this, then this will happen. It is Saturn's law written into therapy. In positive psychology, Saturn is grit. Not talent, not luck. The stubborn commitment to keep going when enthusiasm is gone. You could call it grit, but it is really just Saturn in disguise. In existential psychology, Saturn is mortality. Freedom, responsibility, and meaning only exist because we die. Limits create significance. Without death, there is no urgency. Without limits, there is no shape. This, too, is Saturn's lesson. And in neuroscience, Saturn is the work of the prefrontal cortex, the quiet voice that says no. The neural brake that resists dopamine's flood, the circuitry that keeps us tethered to long-term goals instead of animal impulse. So whether you believe in planets or not, the archetype is the same. Saturn is the psychological reality of limits. The reminder that sovereignty is not found in endless freedom, but in the discipline that gives your life shape. What does Saturn feel like in a human life? Not as myth, not as metaphor, but in your body. It feels like weight on the chest, the kind that makes it harder to breathe, as if time itself were pressing down. It feels like heaviness in the limbs. Every task takes longer. Every step grinds against invisible resistance. It feels like slowness, days stretching, projects stalling, the sensation that no matter how much you push, progress crawls. The clock ticks louder under Saturn. Deadlines, obligations, the passing of years, all impossible to ignore. This is why ancient astrologers called him the Great Malefic. Because Saturn makes comfort scarce. He prunes your life to the bare essentials. Friends drift away. Pleasures lose their sweetness. What is left is you and the work. And yet, there is a strange gratitude that follows. Those who endure a heavy Saturn season often look back and say, "I'm glad it happened. It stripped away the lies. It forced me to grow." Psychology recognizes this pattern. Developmental theory describes life as a series of crises: identity, intimacy, generativity. Saturn mirrors these turning points. Your Saturn return at 30 echoes the transition from youthful freedom into adult responsibility. The return at 60 reflects the shift from ambition to legacy, from expansion to meaning. Burnout studies describe the same terrain: the collapse of old routines followed by either despair or the construction of sturdier foundations. Resilience research shows that stress, when faced instead of avoided, creates strength, precisely Saturn's harsh but noble gift. So what feels like punishment is often initiation. The cold hand of time, demanding that you prove what your soul is made of. How do you work with a force like Saturn? You cannot bargain with time. You cannot seduce gravity. The only way is to align yourself with its rhythm. Saturn is not interested in how you feel. It asks a simpler question: are you in harmony with the law of reality? Discipline is not a prison, it is a rhythm. Boundaries are not cages. They are the edges that give shape to freedom. And discomfort is not cruelty. It is the pressure that makes a vague life solid. There are ways to invite Saturn into your life without waiting for a transit or a return. Think of them less as hacks, more as small rituals of alignment. Keep a ledger of promises. Every evening ask, did I do what I said I would? This is not moral judgment. It is tuning your word until it rings true. Build bright lines in your schedule. Sacred hours for work, for health, for restoration. Not preferences, but vows. You will find that once the boundaries are drawn, the mind relaxes. Saturn's lesson. Limits are a kind of love. Practice deliberate discomfort. Cold mornings, hard conversations, the silent hours spent with a dull task. These are not punishments. They are fire drills for the soul. Every small hardship you embrace now is one less catastrophe that can break you later. Say no. Do it clearly. Do it often. Each refusal is a stone in the foundation of your life. Without walls, nothing can be built. And once a week, choose a Saturn hour. The ancients gave him Saturday. Use it to tend to your structures, finances, tools, systems, legacy. This is not superstition. It is the ritual of maintenance, the devotion of care. In the end, Saturn is not here to take from you. It is here to test you, to refine you, to return you to the ground of being. The sooner you learn to move with its rhythm, the sooner you discover the secret. The weight was never a chain. It was the floor you stand on. Saturn's secret is simple, and most people miss it. They mistake the weight for punishment. They mistake the limit for a wall. But in truth, the weight is the training ground. The wall is the shape that lets your life stand. Freedom is not the absence of boundaries. It is the power that emerges from them. A river only flows because its banks hold it. A life only gains direction because time runs out. This is Saturn's gift. To strip away the illusions, to show you what is essential, and to remind you that resilience, dignity, and sovereignty are forged in the fire of resistance. So the next time you feel that pressure, when everything slows, when the world feels heavy, don't flee it. That is the teacher arriving, the misunderstood ally, the keeper of time. You are not here to drift. You are here to be tempered. If you have made it this far, you already know. You have felt Saturn's hand. Leave your mark below. Not just a comment, but a record of what it demanded of you and what it gave in return. And if you carry this weight with pride, step closer. This is the circle of those who refuse escape, the ones who choose endurance, the ones tempered by time. And if you want to help this circle grow stronger, subscribing helps me shape more of these videos. And if you're ready to take it further, the free ritual guide is waiting for you. The link is below. Until next time.